Hello there. Welcome in. This is Shelyna, your real estate coach, and I'm here to walk and talk you through filling out an actual contract for a client. We will not be discussing anything except for how do I write that contract. So first thing you want to do is go into the MLS and you want to find the listing. So I'm going to come in here and find the listing, and no, I don't want that one. Okay, so here's a listing. It's currently under contract. And the first thing I want to do is click on Transaction Desk to see if there are any documents associated with this listing. As you can see, the windows that I have open above are going, and no, there are no documents associated to this listing. The windows that I have open are Command and Matrix. Okay, so now the next thing, I'm going to pick a listing that is actually not under contract. That looks pretty good. All right, let's do, oh, that's under contract. Oh, our MLS is spicy. I like it. All right, here we go. Let's choose this one. No, this is in Light Farm. That'll take forever. Okay, so I'm going to click on Transaction Desk and see if there's any documents associated with this individual property, and no documents. So great, perfect. Okay. The information that I'm going to need off of this property, I will show you as we're going through the actual presentation. So now I'm ready to start the offer for my client. I need to come over here to Command, and your client should already be entered in Command as a contact. And so I'm going to click on Create Opportunity, and I'm going to make sure it's for my buyer. Now, best practices, if you're coaching with me, your client should already be set up in the pipeline. This should not be the first time you're setting up an opportunity. Your client should already be in here. So now the opportunity name, the office really wants you to name these opportunities the property address. This is so that they can easily find and identify this particular property. I'm not going to enter any custom tags. My client would like to close in 30 days, so I'm just going to give it an estimated close date from today, which would be November 27th. Well, what do I know about November 27th? That is a Black Friday. I am not going to mess with that. I'm going to go straight into December 2nd. Let me pull the calendar up. This is tricky times because in November, this is this may be considered a holiday for the title company. I just want to give myself some cushion time. The next thing I'm going to do is enter what the average commission rate is for me. We are under appointment and we are in negotiations. Create my tab. Now I want to fill out the property details right here. So the property that we're looking at is what I'm going to put the address in for. And it should auto-populate and fill the rest of this information in. If this is a new construction property, this information you will have to enter manually. So now we're going to hit save. Okay. Now I'm going to go into the documents tab. Your documents that you should already have in here under consultation, my best practice is to add the pre-approval here, just so I can have a copy of it and don't have to search in my emails. So pre-approval will go into here. Under contract is where you need to be. And it is telling you the documents that you're going to need. You should already have buyer rep agreement here, IABS, you should already have general information, and you should already have wire, ABA, vendor disclosure, KW advisory. So we are not going to review those because you should already have those in there as a professional. We're going to click on Start a Transaction. This is going to bring you to the login for DocuSign. Don't worry, you probably will get an email notification that you just started a room. The next thing you're going to do is click on Add, and then you're going to click on DocuSign Forms. Excuse me. Okay, now we're going to click on, you can click on Texas 93, and the document that I'm looking for is not here. So I'm going to go back here, click on Group, DocuSign, Buyer Forms. I am looking for the 1 to 4 family and the third party. So here's the third party financing addendum. in this situation, and this is for this example only, we're going to pretend that the sellers need a leaseback, and I will explain that later. We're also going to include the 1 to 4 family residential contract, and I believe the mandatory HOA addendum, and that is it. So the documents that I've just added were the addendum for property in an HOA, 1 to 4 family contract, seller's temporary residential lease, third-party financing addendum. There are 2 ways you can complete these contracts. You can click on them individually, and when you click on them, it will give you the opportunity to go ahead and type right in here. So when this pops up, you can just begin typing. Or another way, and I consider this to be sort of a longer way to do it, is to click all of these and hit create envelope. Now, if I were to do it that way, it would force me to draw boxes in order to do that. For this purpose, we're going to click on each individual one and we're going to begin filling it out. As I go through this, you will see that these are my best practices that don't necessarily have to be your best practices. You can incorporate whatever you would like to incorporate into your business. First things first, we enter the property address. Next thing we enter is the HOA. So you're probably wondering, where do I get the HOA information? We're going to go back over here to Matrix. And it's going to say HOA right here in this section. See my mouse? Right here in this section, it says HOA is mandatory. HOA company, Light Farms HOA. So I just come over here, I copy, and then I go back to the contract. I paste, and then it needs a phone number. So I come back here, no phone number. So I'm going to leave that section blank because I just don't have it. As a buyer's agent, I always want to see this checked, and I'm going to give them about 15 days to get this information. Now, I would not recommend doing anything less than 15 days. Reason is, number one, it will take title companies additional time with all of the buys that are happening in our current market as this is being recorded. And in addition to that, you're buying your buyer more time. So you're fine to have 15 days in here. That's totally fine. Because remember, once your client gets it, they still have 3 days to review it. So you're fine here. I would not, you don't have to check anything here because we're already telling them that the seller is going to buy it, and it's up to your client if they want to contribute anything towards it, and that would come out at closing. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to hit save and close. The next contract that I'm going to open up is going to be the third-party financing addendum. The third-party financing addendum is information that comes from the lender and not from you. You cannot make up numbers to put inside of this contract. Okay, so I'm just going to put Shelyna there. First things first, the pre-approval letter that you get from the lender is going to tell you which type of loan it is. If it does not, please contact the lender and ask, is this going to be a conventional, FHA, VA, what type of loan is this going to be? For this purpose, we're going to use conventional, the first, in the amount. So how do I determine the amount? Well, the amount is based off of what is your client putting down on the house. So this house is listed at $476,000. So now you're going to get your calculator out and you're going to say, okay, the lender said my client has to put down 3% of the 467. So 476 times 3% is $14,280. Write that number down because you're going to need to come back to that number. You're going to need that number again when you're filling out the 1 to 4 family contract. So go ahead and write down $14,280. Now we're going to go back to the contract. This number here, the loan amount, is not this number. It is not $476,000. Your client is putting down $14,280. So what you have to do is come in here and say 476 minus 14,280 is going to give me $461,720. I'm sorry, y'all, my dog looked out the window. And so this is the actual amount that's going to be financed. That's the number that goes there. Excluding any finance PMI premium due in the full, most loans are going to be 30 years. And that would be on the pre-approval unless your client decides to do 15. Next, you're going to look at the interest rate. Interest rate should also be on the pre-approval. If it's not, you can ask the lender. For this case, we're going to say 3.0 per annum for the first 30 years because they don't have an adjustable rate. 30 years of the loan with the origination charges as shown on the buyer's loan estimate for the loan not to exceed, I usually put 1%, your lender can verify. That's all I need to fill out because there is no second loan. Now, I'm going to go down to the pre-approval phase. Unless this is cash, and if this was cash, you wouldn't be filling this out at all. I'm going to click that this contract is subject to buyer obtaining approval. This number comes from the lender, not you. Please don't type a number in here and you have not talked to the lender yet. So in this case, my lender says, you know what, we're doing a 30-day close, so go ahead and add 21 days. Excellent. Now we have 21 days down that the buyer has to get approved for this property. Section 4, we will not fill out. Section 4 is based off of an FHA or VA loan and states that if the house does not appraise or if it exceeds the reasonable value of the property established by the Department of Veteran Affairs, the 3-day notice of termination required in 2.b, which is here, property approval, does not apply to paragraph 4. So the buyer shall have the privilege and option of proceeding with consummation of the contract without regard of the amount of the appraised value. So basically, if the house doesn't appraise, the buyer gets to walk away. Well, also keep in mind, paragraph B talks about that as well. So please attend a contract class where they will go over what those two items mean. So that is it for this one. So we're going to click Save and Close. And also remember that the seller lives there and they have asked for a lease back. So we're going to just quickly fill out the lease back. And again, these are my best practices, don't have to be yours. This is just what has worked in my years of experience. So the first thing I want to do is my client's information is there, and that client is the seller. I'm sorry, is the buyer. The buyer now becomes the landlord, and then we have the seller. So in this case, we're like, well, how do I know the seller's name? Well, if you come over here, let's see if they have any documents in the transaction desk here. Okay, in the meantime, you can find the seller's information. Do they have any documents? Okay, so they have a seller's disclosure and a T47. I'll show you what to do with that in a minute. So what we're going to click on is tax, the tab that says tax, and the tab is going to give us the owner's name. It's Letitia and Charles, or Monique and Charles, sorry. So what you're going to do is you can simply just copy. I hate when it does that. So let's do Charles first. So the tax records typically list them last name first. So you're just gonna Hargrove, and then you're gonna come back here and get the other party's name. And her name, Miss Letitia. Now, let's say that you put this on the contract and the listing agent reaches out and says, oh no, that's not their names. Just come in and change it. You're fine. All right. Sweet. Now, the lease. So this is just asking for the address, which is, it will auto-populate. We just need to finish the city, Shelyna, Texas, and then you enter the zip code. Terms. Here is where most people put a date. I do not put a date on this. What I put instead, if the seller says, now remember, whatever the seller says, you have to have the buyer's approval. And if it's going to extend 30 days, you also need to have the lender's approval. In this case, we're only going to give them 3 days after funding. So that's what I put, 3 days after funding. What does that mean? That means that once the property has funded, the seller has to be out by 11:59 p.m. on the 3rd day. Rental, you can choose to charge. I typically do not charge. And then deposit, it depends on the contract amount and the purchase of the home. In this case, $400,000, I may do a $300 deposit. Utilities, I say tenant pays all. tenant being the seller, and then pets, only those present at time of showing on, and then you can put the showing date. Special provisions, I would typically have in here, tenant to have home professionally cleaned, including carpets, and provide receipts. Then we come down here to this page, holdover. Holdover just says, Mr. Seller, you were not out of the house by midnight on the day that your lease expired, so I'm going to charge you $500 for every 24 hours that you're there. Then we come down here. If your buyer's information auto-populates there, delete it. And you can put CC yourself, your phone number, and your email address. And at closing, you will make sure that your client has this party's information. And you can write CC listing agent's information over here. So now we're done with this contract. Now we get to the actual contract. We get to the actual 1 to 4 family contract. Okay, here we go. So we're going to click on the 1 to 4 family contract. I need to move that over. That is in my way. Okay, now we're going to begin filling this out. So we know who the buyer is. It's your client. Now we need to go back to the sellers and gather their names. So Letitia and Charles Hargrove. You'll notice that my typing turned to all caps. I like all caps because when it goes over to compliance, there's no misunderstanding on what a number or a letter is. Now we have lot and block. 2 ways you can find lot and block. The first way you can find lot and block is from the actual listing. So when you come over here and you look at the actual listing, in the top portion, it says lot 7 block D. If you're in the tax portion, it will also say lot 7 block D. So we can operate from the tax document. So we got lot 7 block D. And this part, this line here is asking for a subdivision. So I'm just going to come and copy this. And then I'm going to go back to the document and I'm going to paste it. And now it's asking what city is it? And it is in the city of Shelyna. And the county, I believe this is Denton County, if I know where I'm at. You can go, it should be in here. Well, I know it's in here. I just. Okay, it's not in the abbreviated one. Okay, so county is, oh, it's actually Collin. Okay, so that was right here in this first box. So we're going to go ahead and type in Collin. Now we're going to finish out the address, and the zip code over here was 75009. Awesome. Now we're going to look at exclusions. Please go back here and pay attention to the actual listing. And you see where it says description. If there were exclusions, it would be listed right above public driving. If you do not see exclusions, there are none. They would be listed right here. Okay. If you do see exclusions, it's important for you to add them on the contract. So you can type NA. NA means that you actually went back and looked and there were no exclusions. Third-party financing or sales price. The first portion is the cash price, which is their down payment, which we said was $14,280. This is a third-party financing addendum. And then we need to know, well, how much are they actually financing? So we said they were financing $461,780. Nope, that's not right, because this contract is $476, which doesn't match the offer. So all I have to do is go back to my numbers and say 467 minus 14,280, 476, sorry, gives me $461,720. And there it is, 476. Okay, license holder. NA, because I'm not related to the buyer or the seller. Earnest money is up to your client. Do not tell your client earnest money has to be a certain dollar amount, because that is not true. It is negotiable. If you want to give them best practices, you'll see some agents do 1%. Whatever floats your boat is totally fine. For me, I like nice, good, even numbers, and I let my client know you're going to get this back at closing. So, you know, you put whatever your client is comfortable in there with. Earnest money is going to go with the preferred title company. Let's see, I don't know her title company, so I'm going to list mine. You do not put a party's name here, but you do have to put the address. Okay. We're not going to add any additional monies here. And I'm going to have my buyer pay for it. And the reason, let me tell you why I'm going to have my buyer pay for it. We're in multiple offer situation, and I want my buyer to win. If this offer amount was less than the actual contract, I would be I would have my client pay for it. Best practices, I explain to my client why it's important for them to pay, and I have them pay for it anyway. Then it's going to be with lawyer's title. And remember, this is your client's discretion, not yours. So make sure you have that conversation with them. And I always check, will be amended to read shortages in area by the seller. Next, it asks me for survey. I don't care if they've already sent me a copy of the survey. I am still filling this in. So I'm going to say within 3 days, I want a copy of the survey. And if the survey does come over, now this is survey and T47. If both do not come over, or if it is not, if it doesn't, let me back up. If this 3 days comes and goes and the seller has not turned one over, the seller will be responsible for paying for a new one. If it does come over and the title company does not accept it, I also want the seller to pay for a new one. Okay, that's up to your discretion, up to your seller's discretion, but this is what I would recommend in a non-multiple offer situation. You do not fill out anything in objections, but you give it a time frame. This property is in an HOA. Now we get to seller's disclosure notice. If there was a seller's disclosure notice here, which it is, I would just go ahead and click it and then download it. Now, the reason you want to do that is because it will save you a headache. I'll show you how to upload that later. So buyer has received it. If you did not, let's say it was not there, I would check buyer has not received it, and then I would give them 3 days to get it to me. In this case, we do have it. Buyer accepts property as is. Home warranty, I like home warranties, so I would go ahead and put a home warranty in there. In a non-multiple offer situation, always give them a home warranty. And then closing date, the lender has told me I should close December 2nd. Okay. Then I'm going to come down here. Do not write anything here. Let me write it here. Do not type anything here. I don't care what it is that you have to say. There is an addendum or an amendment for it. If there's not an addendum or amendment for it, reread it and make sure what you're putting here, if you were to go to court over it, there wasn't a contract for it. Okay, do not type anything here. Let me back up because I skipped a part. Possession. Now, possession means at funding, who is going to get this house? How is the house going to be transferred to the buyer? In this case, we said according to a residential lease. If your client is not giving a lease back, then it would be upon closing and funding. Closing and funding. Closing is the signing of the documents. Funding is something totally different. So we're going to click here. Now we're going to go down to settlement, and this is where you're asking the seller to contribute to the buyer's settlement and other expenses. There are limits on how much a seller can contribute. In a multiple offer situation, I do not recommend you ask for anything. You're probably not going to get it. In a situation where it's not multiple offer, let's say my client wanted $3,000 towards closing costs, that is what I would put there. Remember, this is negotiable, so they may push back and say no. Because keep in mind, our offer amount was $476. $3,000 is going to lower the offer amount to $473, but it doesn't hurt to ask, as long as you're not in multiple offer situation. Now, notices to buyer. You do not have to put your buyer's name here. Actually, don't put your buyer's name here. Instead, You're going to put CC in your name. You're going to add your phone number. And then you're going to add your email address. Same thing over here. Listing agents information. Get the listing information from here. We're going to go back to Matrix, and there it is. It's Charlie Clark. And I'm going to get her phone number. We're going to do a bunch of copy and paste. And we're going to get her email address. All right. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to check off all the documents that are included in this offer. We got third-party financing addendum, and we have mandatory HOA, and we have the seller's leaseback that they asked for. Then we're going to go to option money. Again, this is negotiable, and discuss it with your client to see how much they want to offer. In this situation, my client only wants to offer $150, and they want at least 7 days. Totally fine. And you need to check will be refunded. Don't miss this in the paragraph. You missing this shows us that you didn't take the time to read this contract, and you could be jeopardizing your client's $150. So read it, check the box. If your client has an attorney or is an attorney and they want this information here, you can put it here. Nothing here to check. And that's it for the buyer. Now becomes the part between the agents. So this page is where you're going to fill out the information for you and the other agent. So Keller Williams Realty, this listing just happens to be in our office. But if you didn't know the broker's number, go find a listing in our office, and there it is right there. Okay, so I'm going to fill this out 2 ways. I'm going to fill this out as if this was a whole nother broker, buyer only, and then you're going to list your information, your email, your phone number, Bob Baker, and his license number, the address, 75093. This phone number should be the office phone number. So I believe that's 469. Actually, I am not sure. So nope. Oh, where is it? All right, the listing office right here. Sorry, I was reading. Awesome. Now you're going to come on this side, and then you would put the other broker. So let's say the other broker was Century 21. You would get the license number for the other broker. You would say seller only, get the listing agent's information. This information, oh, let me go back and show you where to find their license number. The agent's license number is right here. See my mouse? See her name? There's her license number. You would highlight it, come back to the document, paste it. Then you want make sure to remove all those spaces. You want her email address. Again, you'll go back to the contract, copy it, and paste it. Then you'll go for the phone number. And again, you'll just go back and forth copying and pasting the information. And then once you're done, now the selling associate, you don't fill this information out here because you are the selling associate and you're over here. So you stop when you get to city, state, and zip. And then you want 3%. Now, look at MLS. MLS says 3%. So that's how much you do is 3%. If this said 2.5, then you would be writing 2.5 unless you negotiated something else. So this is how you would fill this page out if this were a listing agent that is not one of our Keller Williams agents, meaning they're not within Keller Williams Plano, an office that we are a part of. Now, let's say that this was, which this is the case, this is Charlie Clark. She's in our office. Oops, that was wrong. So now we have an intermediary situation. Intermediary means nothing on this side gets filled out. Everything on this side gets filled out. And it is seller and buyer as an intermediary. Okay, now you have the licensed supervisor, again, is Bob Baker. And if this is the case, please make sure your client signs an intermediary notice that they know you're representing them and the broker has Charlie Clark representing the buyer. I'm sorry, the seller. 3600 Preston Road. And that is going to be, phone number is 972-599-7000. Plano. Now you become the selling associate. Okay, and enter Bob's information, the address, and then just come over here and none of this information gets filled in. This is if the other agent is in our brokerage and not from a different brokerage. All right, so for time's sake, I'm just gonna hit save and close. And then I'm going to come over here. Now I need to get signatures on this stuff. That's how you fill out the contract. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. I would like for you to reach out to me before you have your client sign any documents. So now we need to have our documents signed. We're going to highlight all three. We're going to click on Create Envelope. Now from here, you can name the envelope, the property, I'm going to name it. I'm actually going to name it the property address. Initial offer. And then here it's going to, these are all the documents. It's going to ask for who are the recipients. You can click on room participants and your buyer should be there with their email. So I'm going to click buyer and then add selected. Let's say your buyer was not in there. All you're going to do is click on add recipients, email address. You're going to type in their first and last name and then their email address. Email subject, you can go ahead and copy this if you like. I usually don't put anything here, but do what you like. Please sign our initial offer. Then hit next. Did I spell initial right? Yeah. Okay, now from here, I always do a second look at the contract to make sure everything is filled out correctly. Notice that this is missing the city. All I do is come over here, click on text, add Shelyna, and then read only so no one can change that. All right, we got our X 15 days, no money, cool. My client's name is here. I just click on signature and I drop it. If there was a second buyer, I would just come here, click it. The second buyer would be there with a different color. I would just click that buyer and then repeat the same thing with signature and drop it. Cool, so page one is done. The next page has to deal with the 1-to-4 family contract. And as you can see, there is information missing that did not come over. Oh my, none of it saved. All right, I'm gonna go back out and finish this contract, but before I do, I want to get to the other page. Come on. All right, so in this page, none of the information saved. I'm so not understanding why this information, I know exactly what happened. All right, I'll show you guys why this information did not save. Third-party financing, that information is good. 30, good. 21 days, good. Click on initial, drop my buyer's initial, go to the next page. The address, it did not come over correctly. And make sure I hit read only. Scroll down, good, add signature. Now, 2 contracts came over that were not filled in. This is why you have to review everything before you actually submit it. So I'm going to hit the back button. Notice I didn't hit anything that said save or anything like that because it automatically saves. I'm going to save this and close, and I'm going to go back to the Documents tab because there was a misunderstanding between myself and this third party, this 1 to 4 family contract. So I'm trying to find out what was that understanding. Another thing I could do is within the envelope, let's see if it lets me do it. No. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I went back into the envelope. I'm going to remove the third party, the 1 to 4 family contract, and I'm going to remove the residential lease. Keep in mind, I had another document, the seller's disclosure notice. So I'm going to go and save and close this one, go back to Documents. I'm going to add the seller's disclosure notice, and all I did was click the download that I did and I dragged it up. Now I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to complete this contract. And I know exactly what happened, and when I get to it, I'll explain to you why it did not initially save. So I'm going to be going rapid fire through this since we've already done it once. Okay, lot 7, block D, and then go back here, copy the HOA. I'm in the tax record for anyone curious. City of Shelyna, County of Collin. This is going to be Shelyna, Texas. We said there were no exclusions, so NA. And then his down payment was $14,280, third-party financing addendum, and they were financing. Hold on 1 second. Okay, they were financing 461,720. All right. Okay. Now I am not a party to the contract, and neither is a listing agent. Earnest money, I'm just going to do $4,700. Title company, I said was going to be Lawyers Title, and they are located at 5810 Tennyson Parkway, Plano, Texas. No additional money, no additional days. My buyer will pay for it with Lawyers Title. All right, next page will be amended by the seller. Then I go to survey, check. Got 3 days to get me survey. If it's unacceptable, because we're not in a multiple offer, I want the sellers to pay for it. No objections, but I'm going to give you 5 days. Reason I give 5 days is because if there's any encumbrances or anything like that, I want to make sure we're protected. The property is in an HOA. And then we have received the notice. I just uploaded it. And we are accepting the property as is. Please note, as is does not mean your buyer will not get an inspection, because they very well will get an inspection. I'm going to do $600 for that. And closing is going to be on December 2nd, 2020. All right. And then we're going to give them possession according to a lease back. And my client is asking for $3,000 towards closing costs or towards settlement. This is the reason why it pushed back. So once I have my client's information there, it's asking for my client's email address. So if I put a name here, it wants to associate my client's email address, and I don't give out my client's email address to a listing agent. Okay, so I just remove it all together, and I'll show you how to add it back in. Third party. The seller side will let you add, so you can still add the listing information here, listing agent's information here. Option money, $150 for 7 days, will be refunded, and that's it. We're not going to go back over this page again because we've already done it. Save and close. And then the residential leaseback was the other one that didn't copy. So I'm going to go back over here to the temporary residential leaseback, and I'm going to quickly fill in the gaps where I left off. All right. I'm not going to charge them any rent, but I am going to charge them a $400 deposit. Tenant pays all. Tenant is the seller. Only pets there during showing. Okay. Holdover, I give them $500. And then I'll just leave that information as is, save and close. So the issue was I added an email address that the system said did not belong to my client. So now I'm going to click on envelopes, and there's the draft envelope. And oh no, my documents are missing. I got you. So you're going to click on room docs, and then you're going to find the seller's disclosure notice, the 1 to 4 family, and the residential leaseback, and you're going to add them. Ta-da! Now they're there. Okay, now you're going to hit the next button. I'll wait for those to load. We're going to pretend they loaded. Okay, so we're going back into DocuSign. The initials that you already added before we backed out are still there. So the only thing I do on the seller's disclosure notice is I just make a mark and see that this is funky here. So I'm assuming that they're meaning it's gas and not electric. Never assume, call if you need to. They made a mistake and signed on the buyer side. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our client's initial right there. We're going to see the roof was done in 2017. Go ahead and add your client's initial. All right, none of this information. Flood insurance. All right, so we're going to add our client's initial. Property taxes. All right, HOA information. We're going to add the initials here. Okay, so okay, they have a homestead. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add initials. And then signature and date. And when you add the date, please remember to hit read only, and then add the text and add the name. Same thing, read only, and then add initial. Okay, if there was another buyer, you'd repeat this whole process over here. All right, then I'm coming down to, there it is, the 1 to 4 family contract. Just verifying that all of the boxes are still there. Do not take this part for granted. Please verify that everything is still there. Pricing, NA. All right, so initial. Verify every page before you add initials. Checked. 3 days, seller, 5 days. Is an HOA. Initial. Going down to page 3, there was nothing to fill out on page 3, so just adding initials. Okay, buyer received notice, accepts as is. Okay, initial. We asked for a $600 home warranty, December 2nd. Temporary leaseback, nothing in special provisions, and we'd like to get $3,000. Okay. Nothing there, so initial. And here is where I'm going to type in the CC for notices. So you'll click on the text, add the box where it says buyer, come over here, check read only, and then type in my name. And I can stretch this box out right here. Click text, drop the text, read only, add my phone number, then text, drop the box, read only, enter my email. Now I should have already done this for the seller back on the other one. So box is checked, add initials. 150, 7 days will be refunded, nothing here. Buyer's signature. Okay. Remember, if it's 2 agents from our office, only this side. If it's not, this side and this side, so I didn't go back over that. Nothing on this page, these are just receipts. All right, subject to HOA, there's the information, there's the days, cool, buyer's signature. Okay, this should be the last one. Residential leaseback, yep, there's the information, Shelyna, Texas, tenant pays all. All right, add initial. Your buyer is the landlord. Okay, $500 hold holder. There's my client's name. I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to come here and type in CC my information. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my telephone number, read only. And then same thing for email. All right, and now landlord is my buyer, add signatures. Oh, I forgot about the third-party financing. That all looks good, add initials. That all looks good, add signatures. Now, once you've done all of that, you can give it a once over if you'd like to make sure you didn't miss any boxes for initials or signatures, but then you're gonna hit send. Once you hit send, it's going to bring you back to a page that says envelopes. You're just waiting. It's going to say waiting on signatures. Okay, and that's it. Once you've done that, you come back here to documents. You click on the documents that you'd like to download, which would be all of them. You draft an email to the listing agent and say, please see attached for my client's offer on 123 Main Street, or in this case, 834 Underwood Lane. If you have any questions or you get stuck, please give me a call. We would like for you to complete your contract and send it to me, your coach, before you send it to your buyers for signatures so that we can address anything that is wrong and not have to have your client signing multiple times. Okay, awesome. Now, once you've done that and you need to upload the executed contracts to Command, when you come over to Command, we have to upload the executed contract. So you would just click on Add File. If you've downloaded the contract, just click and drag. My bad. If you downloaded the contract, you can click and drag, or you can click on DocuSign and look for the contract. The end of it will say signed PDF, not just PDF. It will say signed PDF. Okay. Once you have all your necessary documents in there, you can hit Submit to MCA. Then you're going to come over here in the Offers tab. Add a new offer. You're going to put the property address, initial offer. And you just say, when was the offer date? The close date is actually December 2nd. The address, plus the address in there. If it's new construction, you'll have to auto-populate it. Then it comes over the parties. There's your buyer's name, their email, their phone number, your email, your phone number. The seller, add the seller's name and your listing agent's name. And you may want to just enter their phone number. Now you want email. Now you want to get over here to the terms It's just going to ask you some very simple term questions, all of the questions that you already just answered on the contract. All right. Earnest money, I actually did 4,700, which is a little less. Option money, option days was 7. We asked for a $600 home warranty, and we asked for $3,000 in settlement costs. Agent analysis, what are the pros? We're close to full asking. What are the cons? We asked for a home warranty, asked for $3K in closing. December closing. You don't need to put a summary if you don't want to, but hit save. Now, once you hear back from the agent, if your offer was rejected, you click reject. If it was accepted, you hit accept. Once you've hit accept, that's when the commissions tab will light up. If you are using the transaction desk, they will do this for you. If not, I will walk you through how to submit your commissions to get paid. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please reach out to me should you have any questions or if you get stuck filling out the contract. Once again, thank you, and I hope you have a fabulous, wonderful day. Take care.